most popular groups of Africans in Eastern Africa, the Swahili. As always, if you guys want access to sources, courses, exclusive videos, or if you simply want to support the home team, you can do so on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. The Swahili people are a group of African people along the eastern African coast that share a culture and language. There is some diversity amongst the Swahili people due to its vast culture spanning from Mogadishu in the north to Mozambique in the south. The Swahili are primarily a Bantu people from these regions that created one of the most popular civilizations in Eastern Africa. The major Swahili states were Mogadishu and Brava in Somalia, Lamu, Mombasa and Malindi in Kenya, Kilwa and Mafia in Tanzania, Pemba in Zanzibar, and Sofala in Mozambique. The Swahili people are known locally as Waswahili. The term Swahili comes from the Arabic word Sahili or coastal. Swahili is the plural term. The Waswahili speak Kiswahili and it belongs to the Bantu language family of the Niger-Congo family. Due to the history of the region, Kiswahili has picked up some Arabic loanwords. The main dialects of Kiswahili are Kiunguja, Kimbita, and Kaamu. Now, Waswahili history can be very confusing, and it can be difficult to understand all the pieces of their history because of the large territory in which the people and culture thrive. It can also be difficult due to the hijacking of foreigners. So in order to make this easier to understand, we're going to be focusing our attention on the history of the Waswahili in Mombasa, Kenya. But every now and then, we'll speak on the Kilwa and Zanzibar Waswahili. I wanted to give you guys more of a foundation before I confuse you with various local histories, as the history is slightly different depending on the region. The Waswahili of Mombasa, both traditionally and at the present day, are divided into the Thinashara Taifa, or the 12 tribes. Some also identify themselves as Shirazi, claiming Persian descent. Whatever their origin, the Thinashara Taifa speak a distinct dialect of Waswahili, Kimbita, which is the dominant form of the language from Malindi in the north to Gazi in the south. It's actually a funny story how Mombasa got its name. Local Waswahili elders emphasize that Mombasa is not the real name of the city, but simply a name invented by Europeans. One account presents Mombasa as a nonsensical word, the result of a classic moment of intercultural misunderstanding. When the British first arrived at the edge of the city, they asked a passing local man, "What is the name of this place?" He then responded in his local tongue, Guryan, saying, "What are you saying?" Which to the British sounded something like Mombasa. According to Taifa accounts, the original name of the city was Mbita, which means place of war. Out of all the oral traditions of the Waswahili, the tradition of a queen who mothered the population who would later be known as the 12 tribes of the Waswahili is of great interest. Her name was Imwana Nkisi. Queen Imwana Nkisi was the founder of the Cambodia, which was the first urban civilization of Mbita. The term Cambodia or Congowea, according to some scholars, has a close link to the Congo Empire of the East Congo people. Later, a man named Shehe Mbita established the very first permanent stone mosque on Mbita Island. Shehe Mbita is remembered as a Muslim of great learning, and so is connected more directly with the present ideals of Waswahili culture. Though Arab travelers first mentioned the land of the Sawahil in the 13th century, communities living on the coast and islands of Eastern Africa did not begin identifying as Waswahili until the 19th century. Now, an ethnic group of around 1 million people, the Waswahili and their ancestors have exploited coastal ecologies, worshipped as Muslims, and spoken local dialects of Kiswahili for centuries. One of the most popular elements of Waswahili culture is no doubt its beautiful architecture. Many scholars previously thought that the beautiful Waswahili architecture was of Arab or Persian origin, but due to relatively recent archaeological work, the architecture from this region is a unique Waswahili development. Africans from southern Africa have had an extensive history of stone settlements, and the Waswahili continued this tradition along with their newfound religious vigor. Dr. John Sutton has this to say concerning the Waswahili architecture. Despite popular thinking, Swahili architecture and towns are not Arab, both in style and in the building techniques and materials. Swahili Islamic architecture is distinct from that of Arabia. The misapprehension that the Swahili and their cultural history are Arab or half-Arab is based on a shallow historical understanding. Ibn Battuta visited the city of Kilwa in Tanzania and made note of the Waswahili city. Kilwa is one of the most beautiful and well-constructed cities in the world. In 1845, Sultan Said had secured Omani claims to the coast, relocated to Zanzibar, and applied the name Sawahil to this new dominion in Eastern Africa. This convention of referring to the entire region as the Swahili coast was then adopted by European missionaries and explorers. Some Eastern Africans began to affiliate as Swahili for the first time during the second period of direct Omani influence after 1820, but not the coastal noblemen who held fast to town loyalties built on clan membership. These noblemen emphasized Arab descent or reinvigorated a wider identity as Waswahili, thus claiming an ancestral home in the Persian Gulf. They produced written genealogies and insisted that their Islamic pedigrees were equal to those of the Omani usurpers, without relinquishing their claims as the original settlers of the region. When recent Arab immigrants rejected the descent claims of local Waswahili, the latter attempted to increase their respectability by distancing themselves from the farmers, artisans, and fishermen who constituted most of coastal society. Though most of these commoners were themselves born on the coast, elite residents disparaged them as Washenzi. This term marked commoners as the presumed descendants of slaves taken from Southeast Africa or immigrants from nearby hinterlands. Some slaves, particularly those born at the coast, rejected the insulting stereotype in favor of the name Waswahili to indicate that they had abandoned the customs of their homelands. To secure positions in town, negotiate with patrons for wages, or otherwise increase their autonomy and agency. Some people in the hinterland also became Waswahili, not to escape the indignity of slavery, but to express their affinity with coastal society and strengthen relationships with their commercial partners. By the turn of the 20th century, most laborers in coastal towns had become Waswahili. Unfortunately, slavery played a very big role in the history of the Swahili coast, with many Waswahili people becoming victims and even perpetrators, like the infamous Tipu Tip, who went on numerous expeditions in Central Africa. He encountered people like the Luba people of Congo and enslaved hundreds, if not thousands of them. In fact, it was through his efforts that the kingdom of the Luba began to fall. Even though many Waswahili simply took on the title of Waswahili, many still became enslaved. These people enslaved along the coast were popularly known as the Zanj. The term Zanj and Swahili increasingly became interconnected and almost inseparable. Ibn Battuta proves this point when he speaks about the Swahili and the Zanj. I embarked at Magasha for the Sawahil country with the object of visiting the town of Kulwa in the land of the Zanj. It's interesting to note this interconnection because one of the biggest semi-successful slave rebellions in human history was the Zanj Rebellion. It's very possible that many Waswahili people participated in this uprising. Well, guys, if you like these videos and want more, you can support the Home Team on Patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.
Na tumeweza kuona chimbuko la Kiswahili na ule utamaduni ambao umeweza kujitokeza. Kwa hivyo makinikeni pale tuweze kuendelea na ile sehemu ya pili.